Samurai Sam would like for the underscore Goog to recap the plot of Final Fantasy X. All right. Final Fantasy X is an excellent video game that if you have not played, you should play. I also don't think Parlor Ghost has played Final Fantasy X, so you should probably, if you don't want spoilers for Final Fantasy X, you might consider not watching the next. Oh, let's limit myself to 15 minutes. I'll try to keep this to 15 minutes. No promises. So we open with one of the most excellent video game songs ever, as this weird Japanese pretty boy swims in a water sphere and kicks a ball. And it's awesome, and there's hard rock everywhere, and the guy's good, and he scores a goal, and they win. And then there's an earthquake, and the world is blowing up. Also, before that, he signed an autograph for some chicks, and his name is whatever you decide it is. He's the only guy in the world you get to name. Nobody ever says his name, because his name is a text field. Every other name gets spoken aloud because video games. So we're going to call this guy Titus. Other people, incorrect people, people in other video games that might or might not literally be Kingdom Hearts, have called this guy, like, Titus or Titus or stuff like that. This guy's name is Titus. It's tides because water, because he plays in a water sphere. It's a metaphor. It means a thing. Fuck you. Also, there's dust on top of my webcam, and it's driving me insane. So now I have awkwardly cleaned the top of my webcam, but also I have fucked with my little circle dealie. Don't fuck a circle wait, no, phrasing. Okay. You can't get behind Titus. No. I'm sure there's reasons. People have reasons for things. Listen, people have reasons for thinking that Aeris's name was Aerith before Aeris's name actually was Aerith. Aeris's name is now Aerith. We're not having that fight. Titus's name is Titus. So Titus is friends with this 8,000-year-old guy, this decrepit, walking wounded, ancient warrior dude who might as well have a cane given how much he limps and holds an arm close to his chest and has gray hair all over the place. This ancient, decrepit, old, elderly motherfucker is like 34 years old. His name is Auron. He's Titus's friend. There's a badass scene where a weird fuck-off space whale is coming to ruin everything, and Auron just pulls out a drink and is like, "Here's to you, bud." And he gulks his friend, which might or might not be the first time he gulked his friend, if you believe the slash fic. Anyway, it is kind of a JRPG thing to make all of the old guys canonically 35. I believe Auron old guy. Auron probably has a last name. I don't know what it is. Nobody in this place has fucking last names. Are you kidding me? Auron is probably canonically like 35. Anyway, so Titus and Auron are like fighting through the city and slashing some scaly dudes, and then they get to a thing and a building falls on some guys, and Titus is like, I'm gonna fall, and Auron's like, yeah, that's the plan, fuck off, say hi to your dad, although I'm not gonna tell you he's your dad yet. Okay. So Auron tells Titus to fuck off, and he's like, this is your story or something. And Titus wakes up in the worst part of Final Fantasy X. We are, by the way, 15 minutes into Final Fantasy X. Here begins the worst part of Final Fantasy X. So Titus wakes up in this weird temple that you'll come back to in 40 hours if you cheat and look up the code on the internet, or otherwise you'll never be in again. And he wakes up in this weird tower, and he's got to fight a fish dude, and he's cold, and there's water or whatever, and there's a hot scuba diver lady, and the hot scuba diver lady can steal things and make things explode, and also they're speaking a language which is just a cipher, which I then used in a Dungeons & Dragons game as Dwarven. If you're ever looking for a good language, Dwarven is just Albed. My players have figured this out by now, by which I mean I've told them and they yelled at me for it. Dwarven is just Albed. Free idea for Dungeon Masters. Anyway. So So the lady speaks a weird language with all of the people on her weird boat, and they have to go get crystal grenades from a thing to blow up a thing. It doesn't actually matter. There's an enormous fish. It fucking sucks. This whole bit fucking sucks. Titus has to run around and gather flowers and flint, and you make a fire and not freeze to death and blah, blah, blah bullshit. Eventually, something, they all blow up again. I think Sin comes again. I don't remember how Titus gets off of the boat. The point of the boat is to meet the hot scuba diver chick and to realize that this is a weird, fucked up place and to discover the Dwarven language, which is just Al Bhed. You accomplish these three things over the course of an agonizing 2 hours, and thus, unfortunately, continues the worst part of Final Fantasy X. I'm sorry. So you go to the boat, and the boat blows up or something, and Sin comes again, and Titus wakes up again. Titus gets knocked out on this game in the first 2.5 hours, more than Giles does in the first 3 seasons of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Anyway, Titus wakes up on a beach, right? And everybody's playing Blitzball, which is the game Titus knows. So he's like, awesome! Turns out you can build a religion around this. Like that History of the World video, you can build a religion. They basically built a religion around this. Because the awesome pose that everybody does is, in Titus's world, just like, hey, we're going to be great at the Blitzball. In this, it's like, praise be to Yevon, and also with you or whatever. So, weird place. Super fucked up. But there's an excuse. There's a built-in in-universe thing for all of the people who are like, wait, I come from a city with awesomeness and buildings and lights and rock and roll music and, like, people? And everyone's like, that's weird. You must have used one of those cursed machines. Fuck you, guy who used a cursed machine. Oh, but you came too close to Sin and your memory's fucked. I'm sorry, let's help you. So they realized that Titus came too close to Sin, which actually did happen, but doesn't actually do anything, but don't tell that to these people. Anyway, Titus's memory is fucked, so they decide to help him. And one of them is an awesome, great blitzball player named Wakka, and the rest of them are shit-ass fucking terrible blitzball players called the Besaid Aurochs, who eventually, if you stick with them and play dozens, if not hundreds of hours of the minigame, will kinda, sorta not suck. Like, Dado gets to be really fast, and Keepa turns out to be a reasonably decent goalkeeper who can sort of fake other positions, and the defenders are mediocre, and poor Letty. God, Letty always gets cut when I play as the Besaid Aurochs. He's decent, but there's a Guado who does everything Letty does better and is faster and good. Anyway, so Wakka takes you to the city. It's a collection of 5 tents. Every city in this game, except for like 2, can more accurately be described as a collection of 5 tents. So, do I like Blitzball? Is a good question. I have played a fuckload of the Blitzball minigame. I would play a fuckload of a proper Blitzball video game. The Blitzball minigame is broken as fuck. How about that? It is not what one could accurately describe as good, but it is enjoyable as hell sometimes. But anyway. Where was I going with this? Right. You get taken to the city of Besaid, and you meet pretty much the rest of the team. This is one of those RPGs where you meet pretty much the rest of the team. There is a very loud contingent of people who want Blitzball in 14. Hi! It's me! Hi! I'm a person who wants Blitzball in Final Fantasy XIV. It makes all the fucking sense in the world. You can make a job out of this. You can make a quest line out of that. No fucking problem. You can have PvP Blitzball. Well, yeah, the problem is Blitzball, as in Final Fantasy X, isn't actually a good PvP game. It's bad. It's very bad if you're playing Blitzball and not being the player with the ball. That's a problem. But if you figure that out, you're golden. The answer is Blitzball Manager, actually, where the players don't play Blitzball, but they play... that might still be bad, actually. Anyway, yes, Blitzball is always played in a sphere of water. So, yeah. Yeah, basically, it is always played underwater. Well, Okay, you should probably be able to swim in Final Fantasy. Well, you can swim in Final Fantasy 14, can't you? I think. Yeah, there's a diving mechanic and swimming. And anyway, magic, I assume. I don't think it's ever directly addressed. But, yeah, magic. I don't know. The halves are like 5 minutes long, but also, yeah, probably just magic. It's probably just magic. Okay. Anyway, I don't know how many minutes it's been. Probably more than I said it would be. God, we're not even off of Besaid yet. We're still in the worst part of Final Fantasy X. The worst part of Final Fantasy X is like the first 3 hours of Final Fantasy X. Right, so this is one of those RPGs where you meet the entire team within the first 3 minutes, 3 hours of the video game, because you've already met Tidus and Wakka and Auron and the hot scuba diver chick whose name we're not giving you yet because, well, I mean, we don't know that she's in the party yet. You meet the rest of the team, which consists of the hot summoner chick, the hot mage chick, and the cat. And we're going to hit appropriate drops here for everybody. Just fucking, there's so many sexy people in this fucking video game. There's a reason this video game is good. So, you get taken to the Cloister of Trials, which is basically a puzzle dungeon. Every place has to do a puzzle dungeon because something summoners, something aeons, something stop sin. Like, I'm something it. The game basically something's it. Like, they are very intentionally vague and nebulous about, oh, the summoner has to collect all of the aeons and then they will defeat sin. And they never go into detail about what exactly that entails, for reasons. So then you go and do a puzzle dungeon, and then you meet Yuna, and then Tidus falls in love with Yuna pretty much immediately because he has bad taste. I mean, Lulu is right there. But okay, Tidus falls in love with Yuna pretty much immediately. And listen, in a vacuum, she's gorgeous, but I digress for a second time. Tidus falls in love with Yuna pretty much immediately, despite the fact that one particular old lady insists to him in no uncertain terms, stay away from the summoner! And then a child points out to him that, you're a bad man! And man, those two voice lines just play on a loop in my head whenever I talk about this particular segment of Final Fantasy X. You then leave Besaid Island with all of your friends in tow and go off onto the tutorial, which completes the worst part of Final Fantasy X. Congratulations, you are now exiting the worst part of Final Fantasy X. Having left the worst part of Final Fantasy X, you know about the battle mechanic, which is excellent. The turn-based system is pretty much the best turn-based battle they've ever done. They basically nailed turn-based battling with Final Fantasy X and then said, well, shit, I guess we have to blow this up. So they blew it up for 11 and 12 and 13 and 14 and 15. I don't know, I haven't played 15 or beyond that, but they blew it up and never went back to it because, hey, it's not like you can use the best battle system ever, turn-based battle system ever designed. Ever again. Anyway. So you go and you fight a whole bunch of dudes, and then you get on a boat, and then you go to Kilika. And Kilika is a city, and again, by city, I mean collection of 5 tents. Kilika is a city by which we mean collection of 5 tents that has recently been ravaged by Sin. And basically, the narrative drive at this point is Yuna's got to beat Sin. Everybody else in the party except Tidus is Yuna's guardian. Tidus wants to be Yuna's guardian because he wants to boink Yuna, but also Tidus wants to get to Luca because there's a big Blitzball tournament, and once there's a big Blitzball tournament, maybe people will know how to play Blitzball and will like Tidus and recognize Tidus because Tidus is good at Blitzball and that matters. So, everybody goes to Kilika. Tidus has flashbacks about his dad. His dad's an asshole. Tidus does or does not learn how to do his dad's special signature blitzball shot thing, which either completely and totally breaks blitzball or is not a prerequisite to completely and totally breaking blitzball, actually, but you do need it to beat the otherwise unbeatable blitzball game. That is the only plot mandatory blitzball in the whole game, which will come later. Anyway. You go to Kilika, you meet the Luca Goers, who are basically the New York Yankees of Blitzball. They're awesome, they're rich, they're cocky shitfuckers, and they're better than you and they know it. So they're very happy and proud about stuff. You meet a shopkeep who's going to be your friend throughout the whole game. He's going to be like a recurring NPC dude, and then he's going to get imprisoned for heresy, which is a thing that happens to pretty much everybody in this game, actually. the central theme about Final Fantasy X is that the Catholic Church is bad. We're just going to slip that in here, and we're going to remember that as we continue for pretty much ever. Actually, the central theme of Final Fantasy X is that the Catholic Church is bad. But anyway, you go to Kilika, which is a city, by which we mean collection of 5/10, which has recently been ravaged by sin, by which we mean ravaged by sin. Actually, sin, a big, enormous space whale, came and destroyed everything, and people are mad and sad, except for the ones who are dead. They're just, well, dead for the most part. We'll get to that later. Anyway, you go to a temple, you do another puzzle, you get another sphere, you get another... Off we go back on a boat. We're back on a boat. Is there anything between Kilika and Luca? I don't think there's anything between Kilika and Luca. If there's anything between Kilika and Luca, I've forgotten it. Anyway, you get to Luca, which is a big fuck-off city, by which we mean, like, 28 tents. And by tents, we mean buildings, like an actual fucking proper fucking city. How about that? There's a big fuck-off city and a big blitzball tournament, and everybody's having fun, except, oh shit, Yuna's been kidnapped. Oh shit, Yuna's been kidnapped by the Al Bhed using machines. It's a problem. You gotta go and fight them. And also the Al Bhed are holding Yuna hostage to stop the Besaid Aurochs from beating the Al Bhed at Blitzball, which is weird when you remember that the Besaid Aurochs have not won a fucking game of Blitzball in 20 fucking years. They're like really, 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 really fucking bad. And yet, this year, I guess word got around that they have this new guy, and the new guy's pretty good. Because, like, the new guy was practicing Blitzball on the boat, and he may or may not have been good at it, depending on how you did at the minigame. But, okay, so they have this new guy, and the new guy's impressive, and Wakka's all, like, extra dedicated or whatnot. Because, well, you know... It's his final tournament, maybe. He keeps saying that. Wakka's like the Aaron Rodgers of Blitzball. I'm sorry. I didn't think of that until 4 seconds before I said it, and it's perfect. So Wakka's like the Aaron Rodgers of Blitzball in that he keeps saying he's going to retire, but then he keeps not retiring. And also he has very weird opinions about politics and religion and science. And oh my god, Wakka really is the Aaron Rodgers of Blitzball. Anyway, Wakka's like in his last tournament, maybe, and they've got this new guy, so maybe the Besaid Aurochs are actually good. So, the Al Bhed are kidnapping Yuna and are holding her hostage to get the Aurochs to throw the game. Titus and friends go off, friends minus Wakka. Wakka's busy playing Blitzball. Titus and friends go off and do a rescue mission, and you learn about electricity and special attacks in battle and all of that, and you blow up the Al Bhed's machine, and then thankfully, somehow, word gets to Wakka. Like, Lulu sends up weird sparks, which Wakka just sees in the Blitz sphere, because, okay... So Wakka sees the sparks in the Blitz sphere and was like, oh, great, that means we can win, yeah? Wakka is apparently Swedish in this telling because, oh boy, that's the voice of Bender doing Wakka's voice, by the way. Anytime you hear Wakka say a thing that it's like, well, I'm sure grateful they got a native guy to say that because otherwise it might be a little problematic. No, that's the voice of Bender, actually. So, yeah. Anyway... So Wakka sees the sparks and is like, oh good, we can win the Blitzball game now. And they win the Blitzball game. Aces. Cool. Would have been real bad if they just fucking lost. But they don't, they win. So now it's time for the next Blitzball game. And, see, the thing with Blitzball is there are 6 players on a team. You've got 2 forwards, 2 defensemen, a midfielder, and a goaltender, right? And Wakka's a forward, and Titus is a forward. And you would think that this means that poor Dado, the second forward on the Besaid Aurochs, has to be, like, on the bench. Because you've got, you know, the team captain who's been the face of the franchise for 25 years or whatever, and also the kick-ass awesome new guy who just saved a princess. It seems natural that those two would play up front and Dado would be on the bench, but no, Wakka's just like, I'll sit this one out. You don't need me. So you play the Luca goers, and if you got the eject shot, this is comically easy, and if you didn't, you're fucked. Because, well, fortunately, you have to play the game. It's mandated by the plot that you play the game. It is not mandated by the plot that you win the game. It's just important if you want Wakka's ultimate shit later. But you don't have to. You don't have to win the game, but you should probably win the game. if you can. Good luck. Have fun. It's going to be bad. Much like Final Fantasy X, the first 2 hours you dedicate to playing Blitzball are going to be the worst. And then it's going to get better and broken. Actually, the Blitzball minigame is very much just a microcosm of Final Fantasy X, come to think about it. Because, like, the first 2 hours are the worst, and then it's fun and excellent, and then eventually it gets stupidly broken and you're just wrecking everything and you lose all of the appeal. But anyway, I've digressed just a touch here. So, Wakka and friends and Tidus win the Blitzball game, or they don't, doesn't matter. And you get a trophy, or you don't, doesn't matter. Either way, big fuck-off monster attacks the city. Like, big fuck-off monster, like several dozen fuck-off monsters attack the city during the celebration of the winners of the Blitzball thing. And then Maester Seymour fucking kills them all. Because he's awesome. He's our friend. Please ignore the fact that he has weird, creepy, pale skin and veiny blue lines going all over his face and weird, jangly, fucked up hair. And he speaks in a weird, creepy, sing-songy voice. And his theme music sounds like Sephiroth's a little bit. Please ignore all of that because the game wants you to believe that Maester Seymour's a good guy. Tiny baby 13-year-old the underscore goog playing this video game for the very first time totally fell for that and thought that Seymour was a good guy until Seymour's obvious in retrospect heel turn, which we'll get to in a few hours of game, not recap. I promise I'm just going at this point. Also present at the tournament is Auron, Tidus's good friend from the city who's 1,000 years old and also like 37. Auron shows up. Auron shows up for the first time since Tidus found his way to Spira. Spira is the place we're in, by the way. So Auron shows up and is like, "Hi, you the summoner? Great. I work for you now. I'm keeping an eye on this one. He's coming. Deal with it." And you'd think that would be weird, but fortunately, Auron's a fucking legend. Auron's a fucking legend because he helped Yuna's dad, the last summoner. Summoner nepotism is totally a thing, by the way. He helped Yuna's dad, the last summoner, defeat Sin. Viago is turning heel any day now. Actually, I think the last time I played, I thought it was Ilario who's turning heel. So, listen, one of the crows is going to stab a bunch of the crows. That's just going to happen. That's going to happen. And the only way that doesn't happen is if all of the crows try to stab me and Lucky, and if that happens, then two of the crows, me and Lucky, are gonna stab a lot of the crows, the rest of the crows. So, like, either one Antivan crow is turning heel and betraying the order, or the entire order is turning heel and then being wiped out. That is what's happening in this video game. Anyway, in the other video game. So Auron joins the party and he forces Tidus to follow him and be with Yuna. And Auron is basically going like, "Now kiss! Now kiss! Now kiss!" with Tidus and Yuna. And it eventually works. So good job, Auron. Tidus and Yuna and friends, they go off, and there's a Mi'ihen High Road and a whole thing, and it turns out that the Crusaders, who we haven't even talked about, yes, there are parts of this video game we haven't even talked about, we've glossed over some shit. It turns out that the Crusaders, who TLDR, they're a paramilitary group who try and fail to fight Sin a million zillion times. You meet two of them, you can decide which one dies in an upcoming scene. The Crusaders are trying to fight Sin using machines, which is bad, which means they're heretics, but also Maester Seymour's here, and Wakka's like, "Boo, what?" Because, like, Wakka's the most Yevon-y guy in the history of the world or whatever, and Maester Seymour's like a big, important, high-up, mucky-muck deal in the Church of Yevon, and one of the Church of Yevon's rules is don't fucking use machines! People trying to use machines is what brought Sin, and if we keep using machines, we're not going to atone for Sin, and you want to atone for Sin, because that's the only way to get rid of Sin, don't ya? Have I mentioned that one of the central themes of Final Fantasy X is that the Catholic Church is bad? Because, yep. So the Crusaders are using machines to fight Sin, which is bad because machines, but also Maester Seymour's there saying, "Hey, have at it, boys. Good luck. Have fun." And Wakka's like, but, but the teachings. And Seymour's like, I don't see nothing. And Wakka's like, but the cannons. And Seymour's like, I don't hear nothing. And Wakka's like, you are a butt. And Seymour's like, maybe. Anyway, you want to boink? It is at this point that Seymour casually introduces the idea that maybe he and Yuna should boink. No, but also, no. Anyway, the Crusaders try to fight Sin, and it just goes so bad. It goes so bad for them. It goes so very bad. Whichever Crusader you decided to have dies, by which I mean you had a choice to tell one particular Crusader, yeah, go get him, you're gonna be great, or, actually, you should hang back. And if you tell that kid, yeah, go get him, you're gonna be great, that kid fucking dies. And if you don't, if you tell him, your buddy Wuzu had the right idea, you should sit back. The good news is you save that guy's life. The bad news is his buddy Wuzu fucking dies. Oh well. So anyway, hi Nora. Yes, I know. We're ranting about things. Are you meowing at me? Hello. You're a good cat. So it is at about this time that Auron decides it's time to tell Tidus, hey Tidus, by the way, Sin's your dad. And Tidus is like, but what? And Auron's like, yep. Tidus is very confused at this because he remembers his dad as a cocky, drunken blitzball asshole and not, it should be stated, an enormous space whale. So it's a bit confusing, but also Auron's like, nope, same guy. Yep, your dad's Sin. Don't tell nobody, but your dad's Sin. Nora, what? Hi. You've been meowing at me ever since I mentioned that you can kill Wuzu or Gatta. I'm sorry. You can. You, as the player, have the decision to make. You just have to know that you're making the decision. Otherwise, you'll accidentally send Gatta to his fucking death. Anyway. So Auron has told Tidus at this point that Sin's his dad. And Tidus is like, really? And then it's like, yep. Yeah, okay. Hey, Dad, stop being an asshole about shit. And, well, his dad doesn't really stop being an asshole about shit. He keeps wrecking shit, actually. So they go to the temple at Djose, and it is at this point that everybody is, like, disturbingly upbeat about this whole journey that Yuna's on. And Tidus is like, man, this is getting real heavy shit, but everybody's laughing and frolicking and talking about Yuna's hair and whatnot. In retrospect, it turns out that only Tidus was really laughing at the funniness of the hair because everyone was hiding their emotions because they didn't want to directly confront the thing that was plain to see in front of them. Have I mentioned recently that one of the central themes of this video game is that the Catholic Church is bad? Anyway, so you go to the temple at Djose and you do another cloister of fucking trials and you get a lightning horse summon, which is cool. The lightning horse summon is fine. And you fight some dudes and you do some things and you meet some other summoners. And by the way, there's a hot lady and her friend, and like every other summoner has like one or two bodyguards. Like there's a hot lady whose one bodyguard is a big muscly fucker who idolizes Auron, and then there's a dweeby guy whose two guardians are a generally competent fellow and his own younger brother who's like 6. Like, Yuna's walking around here with 7 fucking guardians, including the guy who fucking helped Braska defeat Sin last time. It's like, man, let's just have the fucking Church of fucking Yevon put Sin on a silver fucking platter for Yuna. Am I right? This is essentially a subplot to this effect later on, actually, now that I think of it. Also, at some point along here, the game introduces the concept of people being dead but also not dead, because you meet a summoner named Belgemine who's like, hey, let's test our summons against one another. It'll sharpen your edge or whatever. And Yuna shrugs and is like, okay, cool. And then she wins, or doesn't. Do you have to win that one? I think it's plot mandatory that you beat all of the Belgemine fights. I could be wrong about that. Actually, I think I am wrong about that. I don't think any of the Belgemine fights are plot mandatory. But anyway, you meet this lady named Belgemine, and it turns out she's dead. So, oops. Turns out that the way fiends and monsters come into existence is people die, and they're not happy with that. So rather than going to the far plane, which is a physical place you can actually go to, which you do go to later, rather than dying and going off there, the dead people are just like, actually, no. I'm mad about stuff, in fact. So I'm going to stick around here. But the whole sticking around here process, more often than not, leads to corruption and madness and evilness and mutations and monsters and all that bullshit. So one of the things summoners have to do, in addition to, like, summoning and fighting sin, is this thing called the sending, which is basically just taking the spirits of people who have recently died and give them an old whoop off to the far plane. And by giving them an old whoop off to the far plane, I actually mean that there's a dance involved and a cut scene and a whole thing, and Yuna basically walks on water at one time. Like, just in case you were wondering if there were any Christ-like allegories in this video game that contains the central theme that the Catholic Church is bad, back in fucking Kilika, a thing I didn't even fucking mention. You remember how Kilika had recently been ravaged by sin? Yeah, it turns out they needed a whole fucking bunch of people to be fucking sent, so they just sent Yuna out to do it, and she fucking walked on water to do the thing. So, yeah, there is indeed a Christ-like figure in this video game that contains a central principle that the Catholic Church is bad, just in case you were wondering. Anyway, how many times have I said anyway in this now 25-minute and counting recap of Final Fantasy X? I don't know. But anyway, where were we? We were leaving the Temple of Djose, heading for the Moonflow. That's what happens after the Temple of Djose. So you go to the Temple of Djose and you get the Lightning Horse summon, which is fine. And then you go to the Moonflow, and the Moonflow is this cool, awesome river. And the way to cross this cool, awesome river is to, and I quote, ride the Shoopuf. And the Shoopuf is an elephant. Is elephant. There are these blue guys whose function in the plot is to be elephant drivers, and you have to cross the river on an elephant. And you do this, and everybody's riding on top of the elephant, but oh shit, it's the Al Bhed again! And they kidnap Yuna again! Because these guys seem really intent on stopping Yuna for some reason. Wonder if they have a reason for that. Better not worry about it. Better kill him instead. So we kill him instead, by which we mean that Tidus and Wakka, the only two people in the party who can breathe underwater for some reason, dive underwater. It's because they're Blitzball players, actually, and Blitzball training happens underwater, so makes sense. Tidus and Wakka dive underwater, and they fight a bunch of dudes, and they save Yuna again. And then they get to the other side of the Moonflow, and they meet the hot scuba diver chick. And at this point, we have what is probably the most uncomfortably sexy cutscene in the history of Final Fantasy, because the game, like, very specifically shows you a very sexy cutscene of the hot scuba diver lady Riku taking off her wetsuit to reveal a tiny little top and short shorts or whatever. And this is at this point that we should probably mention that Riku's like 16? Like maybe you didn't have to go that hard with it, Final Fantasy X, but you went, well, they certainly committed to the bit. They certainly committed to the bit of, here's the hot scuba diver lady undressing into her hot Riku costume. By the way, it's Riku! So it's Riku, Tidus' friend, who's an Al Bhed and was on a boat and saved him and grenades and stealing and all of that. And now the party is complete. You've got Tidus, who's the quick, nimble, slashy guy, and Auron, who's the slow, swipey, slashy guy, and Wakka, who's the ranged attacker, because guns functionally don't exist in this universe, and Kimahri, who's the, well, useless guy. And there's Lulu, who's the black mage, and Yuna, who's the white mage, and Riku, who's also pretty fucking useless, but at least she's fast and steals things. That's nice. that's your team. That's your whole party. You have to swipe them in and out of battle. You can switch at any time. It's great. It's awesome. It's amazing. It's the best combat system in Final Fantasy ever. And I say this as a person who likes Final Fantasy. My point is, Riku's Overdrive is apparently mad broken. People say that. I believe them. I never learned how to make it good, so Riku's just kind of there for me. But, it's fine. Whatever. You don't have to be great at everything. Look at Kimahri. Kimahri exists, and we like Kimahri, and he's not good at anything. Anyway, Kimahri is also completely broken if you're one of those Final Fantasy players who really likes using enemy skills. I, the _Goog, am not one of those Final Fantasy players who likes using enemy skills. Anyway, you go to the city of Guado Salam, which is the Salam of the Guado. I don't know if Salam is literally Guado for city, but it's basically the city of the Guado. The Guado are the race of people that Maester Seymour is. Turns out Maester Seymour's evil. Shock of shocks, I know. Maester Seymour murdered his dad, and we have the literal video clips to prove it. So Tidus discovers that Seymour murdered his dad, but also, did I mention that Seymour wants to boink Yuna? Yeah, now Seymour's proposing marriage to Yuna, which, bad. Gonna go with no on that one. But put a pin in that. Anyway, in Guado Salam, we also go to the Far Plane. Did I mention that the Far Plane is a literal physical place to which people can actually go? Yup. You can just kind of go on over there and you have a little chit-chat-ski with more to than with, but with the spirits of the recently dead. So most of the party goes there. Riku doesn't want to go because she thinks it's creepy or whatever, and Auron doesn't want to go because he thinks it's creepy or whatever. I don't know. They never really say. But the most of the party goes into the Far Plane, and we see Wakka having a chat with his dead brother, and we see Lulu also having a chat with Wakka's dead brother, because it turns out that Lulu and Wakka's dead brother were boinking. So, yeah, and Wakka and Lulu have both noticed that Tidus looks an awful lot like Wakka's dead brother, to the point where Wakka kind of hoped that Tidus was the reincarnated form of Wakka's dead brother, but now here's Wakka's dead brother in the Far Plane, so Ixnay on the At-Plan they. Tidus and Yuna have a conversation where Yuna's like, hey, you should think about Jecht, and if you think about Jecht, you can see your dad. And Tidus says to himself, self, that ain't gonna fucking happen, because my dad's fucking Sin. And he thinks about his dad, and his dad doesn't show up because his dad's not dead. His dad's fucking Sin somehow. But speaking of fucking Sin, he thinks of a person who did once fuck someone who became Sin, in that he thinks about his mom, and then his mom shows up. So, yeah, Tidus' mom is definitely dead, but yeah, that was a thing even before there was a earthquake and a space whale and buildings falling on people, and Auron telling him that this is his story and all of that. That happened back in Zanarkand. Oh, did I mention something that's kind of central to the video game that I probably should have mentioned at some point? So Tidus is from this city called Zanarkand, and it's cool and awesome and great and whatever, but here in Spira, Zanarkand is a millennium dead monument of ghosts and whatnot that is home of the final Aeon in a really bad place that we definitely shouldn't go to unless you're on a quest specifically such as the one Yuna's on, because again, Zanarkand's where you get the final Aeon in the long dead ruins of the city of Hubris or whatever. You know that Brave Little Toaster song, time flies by in the city of Hubris? Time stands still for the humble? No? Okay. Anyway. So we're going to Zanarkand at some point. That's like the ostensible destination here. But first, we have to go through another fucking cloister of fucking trials in fucking Guado Salam. God, it's a whole thing. And then we have a go in confrontation with Seymour, because, like, he murdered his dad, and that's bad. And there's some fighting and some yelling, and off they go. And then after Guado Salam, you go to the Macalania Forest, and just in case you thought this game came out at a time other than literally the year 2001, they make a Macarena joke out of it when they say that you're going to Macalania Forest, and Tidus goes, "I?" Just like in the Macarena song with the... Yeah. Anyway, so you go to Macalania Forest, but in order to get there, you have to go through the Thunder Plains, and the Thunder Plains exist for two reasons. One, to create a terrible minigame that you have to do 200 lightning dodges to get Lulu's ultimate weapon, and two, to establish that Riku's afraid of lightning. With those things having been established, we move on from the Thunder Plains into Macalania Forest, and then from Macalania Forest, we go to Macalania proper. Macalania proper is a city, by which we mean collection of 5/10, that is also home to yet another fucking cloister of fucking trials. Oh my fucking god. Yeah. And it is at this place that we once again run into Maester Seymour, because he wants to end sin too. See, he's a good guy, except for the fact that we know him to be evil at this point, having murdered his father and all of that. So we fight Maester Seymour and we kill Maester Seymour, but also Maester Seymour is one of those people who was like, actually, I don't wanna. So he doesn't actually die. So there's a couple of times where Orin tries to have Yuna send him, and it doesn't work, and Yuna gets stopped and interrupted, and off we go. And, kind of losing the thread here. Like, we're leaving oh, right. So we're leaving Macalania, and we fight a big ol' fucking Yeti, and a big ol' fucking Yeti is a boss fight, and it punches us a bunch. And then, when it dies, it punches the ice, and we fall down to the ice, and we wind up under the city somehow. And then, when we're under the city of Macalania, Sin comes, I think? Yeah, I think eventually Sin comes, and everybody goes wibbly-wobbly, topsy-turvy, and we wake up in a desert. And when I say we wake up in a desert, I mean Titus wakes up in a desert. Titus is alone in a desert and must one by one reunite with all of his friends, except Yuna, because, wait for it, this has only happened twice in this video game. Yuna's been kidnapped by the Al Bhed. Again. So Yuna's been kidnapped by the Al Bhed, but also we're at home, which is where the Al Bhed's place, is literally called home. So we're at home, which is home to the Al Bhed. Riku says, okay, cool, well, we should probably rescue Yuna, but also, are we sure about this whole stopping Sin thing? Hear me out, Sin bad, but are we sure about this whole summoner plan thing? 'Cause, well, it's bad, right? And everyone else is like, no, it's good, we need to stop Sin. Well, so Bagunicorn, hi, by the way, 42 minutes ago, our dear friend Samurai_Sam redeemed Goog recaps the plot of Final Fantasy X, and I can't stop myself. So, yeah, that's where we are. Bye, Goog. Yeah, I should probably put this on YouTube or something, shouldn't I? Anyway. So we're in home. And it's under attack because it's being troops from Yevon or something are assaulting the base at the same time, and it's a whole thing. But we're going in and we're fighting people and we're rescuing Yuna, and it turns out that in addition to Yuna, there's been this like running plot through the rest of the game that summoners are just disappearing. Turns out they're all being kidnapped by the Al Bhed. Why, you ask? Well, it turns out. And they don't want to come right out and say this, even though everybody's known this. See, the thing is, like, when people lose their memory because of getting too close to Sin, they eventually get it back and they know how the world works. And everybody was just kind of assuming that would happen with Titus, and it never fucking did. So now you have a guy who's actually on the quest who doesn't understand the thing that we're going to tell Titus right now, which is that part of stopping Sin is that the summoner fucking dies, like every time. Like the reason Yuna's dad is dead is that he died stopping Sin. That's kind of part and parcel with the whole thing, the process of the summoner stopping Sin. And when we say stopping, we mean sending away for 10 or 15 years or whatever. The process of stopping Sin involves killing the summoner, which is bad. Like, generally anti-human sacrifice are the Al Bhed. Is tremendous scene and very important, and also, there is that one warning announcement that goes off quite a bit, but Uni will die. Titus did not previously know. He finds out now and is rather distraught. He's upset with his friends for knowing this thing and not telling him this thing. He had made several bold plans and declarations for things he and Yuna would do together after they defeat Sin. And nobody had stopped him from making those plans or having those thoughts because, well, it's a nice happy fantasy and the kid'll figure it out eventually. Here's the kid figuring it out, and he's not terribly happy with this. But also the base is under attack, so we can't properly deal with our trauma right now. We gotta get on a fucking airplane or whatever. And we get on a fucking airplane or whatever, and we meet Riku's dad, whose name is Sid, because, well, there's an airplane in a Final Fantasy game. Of course there's gonna be a guy named Sid involved. And we meet Riku's brother, whose name is Brother, because he's a Berenstein Bear, I guess. And I don't remember how the plot gets from you board the plane leaving home to everybody's going to Zanarkand, but everybody's going to Zanarkand now. So in order to get to Zanarkand, you have to climb Mount Gagazet. And Mount Gagazet is a big old fuck-off mountain. It's where the Ronso live. And you remember when I said Kimaru was a cat? He's actually this race of people called the Ronso. They have horns. Kimari lost his in a tragic hunting accident or whatever. It was taken from him or something. There's this one fight where, hey, you remember when I said that Kimari was the useless one mechanically in terms of battle? Yeah, there's a Kimari solo boss fight against two awesome dudes. That's not fun. Yes, you do have to win that fight. Yes, it is mandatory. No, it is not fun. You have to fight two dudes with Kimari. It's bad. After you fight those two dudes with Kimari, you had better fucking save, because immediately following that is a fucking terrible fight against Seymour. And before that fucking terrible fight against Seymour, you have to deal with Seymour going on a 5-minute monologue about how he has recently massacred all of the Ronso. So yeah, Seymour massacres the Ronso off screen, which makes Kimari mad. Then you fight Seymour, and hopefully, please God, you kill him. Because otherwise, you have to do the whole... he already turned... Yeah, it turns out Seymour's a bad guy. It turns out Seymour's a bad guy. I was wrong. Tiny Baby the _Goog was wrong about stuff. So yeah, hopefully you win this fight against Seymour the first time, because if you don't, this was before they invented the unskippable cutscenes, so you have to watch the monologue again. And you go up Mount Gagazet and you do a thing, and there's like a split paths or something, and I don't remember. Mount Gagazet's long. But you eventually get to the Calm Lands, and the Calm Lands are like a big prairie plateau-y deal, which is like a big open area where you have to fight some dudes, and there's a secret cave where you can get a guy who kills things for money. It's neat. And there's another secret. No, that same secret cave also features like tonberries and shit, and you can get ultra murdered, and you can grind XP, and it's super fun and awesome. And then you go off to Zanarkand proper, and it turns out that Zanarkand is in fact the 1,000-year-old ruin of the city Tidus once knew. And it is at this point that the spirits who are the Aeons are also called Faith with a Y, because you can trademark misspellings, children. It is at this point that the Aeons and the Faith, especially the Faith of the Aeon Bahamut, is like, hey, by the way, hey, Tidus, hey, come here, just you and me, bud, come here, you're not fucking real. And Tidus is like, what? And the Aeon's like, you're not fucking real. And Tidus is like, but I feel real. And the Aeon's like, yeah, but you're not. Turns out Tidus is only kind of sort of real. He's like the dream. He's the physical embodiment of the dreams of the Faith made flesh in order to something stop the spiral of death, something take down the Catholic Church. I mean the Church of Yevon. Yeah, anyway. So we go to Zanarkand and we fight a whole bunch of shit, and we meet Yunalesca. And I think it is at this point that we reveal the other big thing, because there's yet another big thing. You remember when... Yes, it is at this point. Okay, so we go to Zanarkand and we do another fucking Cloister of Trials. God. And actually, the Zanarkand Cloister's not that bad. But We go to Zanarkand, we do another fucking Cloister of Trials, we have a truly horrendous boss fight. Oh my god. The boss fight before Yunalesca, I fucking hate. Good news, the boss fight with Yunalesca, spoilers, you're gonna have to fight Yunalesca, I fucking hate. Yunalesca, it should be noted, was like the first summoner. She was the very firstest person to ever defeat Sin. Turns out, she's not dead, because she was yet another person who died and then was like, actually, no. It's becoming a bit of a theme here. Yunalesca, you remember how the whole thing has been building to everybody, oh, my PS5's going to enter rest mode because, okay, well, I should probably adjust this menu here. So Yunalesca has been just chilling in Zanarkand, helping summoners on their path to defeat Sin. It turns out that the way a summoner defeats Sin is to merge with the final Aeon. And those are, capital T, capital F, capital A. The final Aeon is Yunalesca takes the spirit and soul of one of their guardians and twists it and warps it into an Aeon, which then kills Sin, only to slowly become Sin. Like, that's the deal. So, we should have mentioned at some point that Jecht was also a guardian to Braska. Well, that's what happened to Jecht. Braska and Yunalesca. Braska's education was not sufficiently liberating or something, because, he seems like a good dude, but also he just sort of went along with this because it was the only thing you could do. So Braska called the final Aeon, which was part of the soul of Jecht or whatever, and the soul of Jecht or whatever killed Sin, but also slowly warped and became Sin. And Auron looked at this back in the day when it was just him and Braska and Jecht. He looked at this and was like, well, this is dumb. This is just perpetuating a cycle of death. It renders everything that came before it and everything that will come since utterly meaningless. Have I mentioned that one of the central themes of this video game is that the Catholic Church is bad? Anyway, no, let's not do this. So Auron gets all mad and shit and draws his sword and tries to kill Yunalesca, and that goes very badly for him, by which we mean that Yunalesca kills him. Auron is dead. Auron has died, ceased to live, but it turns out that our dear friend Auron, who has been a party member this whole time and was also Titus's friend and guardian and protector and whatnot, is one of those people who died and then went, no, and didn't go to the far plane. So that's why Auron gets all wiggity whenever Yuna does ascending, and that's why Auron specifically didn't go to the far plane, because, well, Auron's whole thing is that he didn't want to go to the far plane. So, Auron's back. He brought friends. Auron and friends actually properly murder kill Yunalesca, which is cool in the sense that they did it, but bad in the sense that they've broken the cycle and no one can ever summon the final Aeon ever again. And Wakka's real upset about this because, wait a second, it turns out that the Church of Yevon is just bullshit, but also the Church of Yevon has all the power. So we're kind of heretical master criminals, and this is bad. This is real fucking bad. It occurs to me at this point, I think I might have skipped the stuff in Brevel, because I think the stuff in Brevel happens before this, but I thought it happened after. We're going to pretend it happens after. This might have happened beforehand. So either before this scene or immediately following it, the team winds up in jail somehow. And Yuna goes off and goes to marry Seymour. But then there's a rescue mission. And there's a cool scene where Yuna acts like she's going to jump off a building, but actually she jumps off the building and is caught by her bird Aeon. So that's neat. There's a real creepy scene where Seymour and Yuna get married and Seymour kisses her, and it's gross. There's also a scene where it turns out that Maester Micah, who's like the Pope of Yevon, did I mention that one of the central themes of this game is that the Catholic Church is bad? Yeah, that includes the fact that there's basically a Pope of Yevon. Like, they don't use the word Pope of Yevon, but there's a dude who's in charge of the church and has been for 1,000 years. It turns out that the reason he's been in charge of the church for 1,000 years is that he, too, is one of those people who was dead and then, like, nah, so he stuck around to perpetuate the cycle of death over and over and over again. Yeah, there's the inn and the sequence with the jet skis and they get arrested. Okay, so this happened at some point in the past. So the Brevel stuff happens before the Zanarkand stuff. The point is, at some point you go to Brevel, you fight the whole Church of Yevon, you find out that Maester Micah's dead. There's the Via Purifico, which is a neat little thing. You fight Evrae. God, I hated Evrae. You fight Zombie Evrae. God, I laughed at Zombie Evrae. You do a whole bunch of things, and then it's time to fight Sin. Also, there's this one scene where everybody realizes, or somebody realizes, that does Seymour have horns, or is his hair just like that? I think his hair's just like that. I think maybe Guado's skin is a little bumpy, and Guado have, like, super long, gnarly fingers. But for the most part, Seymour's hair is just like that. Right, after Bavel, they do the maze, there's the Via Purifico, they go back to Macalania, Titus and Yuna make out in the water, Sutakitane plays. Okay, now we're caught up. This all happened at some point. We accidentally skipped like 5 hours of the video game. It's fine. At some point, someone has realized that Jecht, who always enjoyed, like, in addition to the whole Blitzball salute thing, there's this running motif of music that goes like, E-A-U-E, Yo bueno, etc., like that. It turns out that Jecht, for whatever reason, really liked that song. And it turns out that Jecht, as Sin, really likes that song. So someone, I think it's Riku, has the idea, hey, what if we use the microphone on our plane to just get everyone in the world to sing that song, to summon Sin to a place, and then kill him? Which is a weird plan, but credit to her, it works. Like, you fight Sin and you knock Sin out of the sky and you whack him down to size or whatever, and then, well, either the main plot goes this way, or you then spend the next 200 hours of your life doing side quests that involve Blitzball and secret coordinates and dungeons and the Omega Ruins, and, well, this is the only part in Goog Recaps the Plot of Final Fantasy X where we will say the phrase, the Omega Ruins. It is this time when we say, oh my god, the Omega Ruins. Oh my god, the Omega Ruins. The Omega Ruins exist. Anyway, so you go inside Sin. Like, you fight Sin and you smash Sin and you bash his wings or whatever and he crashes down to Earth. And then you fight Sin and you go inside of Sin and you fight Seymour again. Seymour's like inside Sin being like, no, seriously, I'm the one who's going to stop it. And then you finally kill him dead for good this time. And Yuna sends him and doesn't send Auron because it's awesome. And then you go deeper in Sin, and you go deeper in Sin, and you go deeper and deeper and deeper in Sin, and there are these dudes that can cast meteors at you. And then you remember that awesome rock song that played at the very beginning of the game where Titus did the Blitzball shot, and it was cool and awesome and amazing? That song, turns out, is the boss fight music for the final meaningful battle of the video game. Ha ha! You gotta fight Jecht, who's a fucker. He's got minions. They're shitheads. It's a terribly difficult fight. It'll wreck your shit unless by this time you've realized that you can teach Yuna how to do black magic, and Yuna's just strictly better at it than Lulu. And also, oh, by the way, you can break the damage limit, so you can just have Yuna double cast Ultima to do 120,000 points of damage to everything on the screen for 1 MP? Yeah, you can do that. Or you can have a very difficult fight. Either way, you get to fight Jecht, and you eventually kill Jecht, and Titus is like, I still fucking hate you, my dad! And Jecht's like, aww. And then he dies. And then, after Jecht dies, it turns out that the way the final Aeon got corrupted and molded into sin is by being essentially infested with this evil tick called Yu Yevon. This evil, spiritual, mystical tick called Yu Yevon had basically burrowed itself inside the Aeon brain or whatever, and used it to create a new sin. That's why sin goes away. It's because the sin tick needs to gestate or whatever. So sin goes away for a while, and Yu Yevon corrupts the spirit of the final Aeon and turns it into a sin. So Jecht is dead and sin is dead, which means Yu Yevon needs a new thing. Ordinarily, this would just be the final Aeon, but there is no final Aeon because we killed Yunalesca. So the rest of the Faith are like, hey, here's the plan. You remember us Aeons, the monsters that have been helping you along the way? You gotta kill us. No, seriously. That's the plan. You have to fucking kill us. So one by one, Yuna summons each of the Aeons that have been helping you in battle and being your friend for the entire fucking video game. And you have to kill them. Now, the good news is that, like all player characters in Final Fantasy games, they're fucking chumps when put up against another player character. The bad news is, one, this is a very tedious process because there's somewhere between 6 and a dozen more Aeons, depending on if you went and got all of the secret Aeons, because, spoiler, there are secret Aeons, and if you went and got those, you have to kill them too. So, this takes a while. And also, it's like, oh, hi, Valefor, my dear and special friend, the very first Aeon that Yuna ever met, the one that welcomed her into its heart and showed her that she could, in fact, be a summoner and follow in the footsteps of her heroic father. It's so good to see you, my friend. Now I shall cut your head off with a sword. You cut Valefor's head off with a sword. So you kill all of the Aeons one by one, and then you fight the evil tick thing. And the evil tick thing is just a fucking chump. Like, you wipe the floor with Yu Yevon. It turns out that when you take away all of the support, the central thing at the heart of it is just a shitty little guy who's a fucker. Have I mentioned that one of the central themes of Final Fantasy X is that capitalism is evil? Anyway, so you kill all of the Aeons and you kill Yu Yevon, and then it turns out that the Faith are like, cool, we can wake up from this dream. By the way, Tidus, that means you're not going to exist anymore. Bye! They fuck off, and Tidus is like, wait, what? And pretty much immediately thereafter, he fucks off. And he goes off to the far plane or whatever to be with his dad and Auron. And then Yuna turns into a pop star. And we play Final Fantasy X too, which, well, I've never actually meaningfully played Final Fantasy X too, because I can't get more than 2 hours into the game because it doesn't grab me the same way Final Fantasy X does, but, the Goog will now recap the plot of Final Fantasy X-2. So Yuna's a pop star now, and she has a girl group consisting of herself and Riku and this girl Pain, who's like Lulu except not, because Lulu's pregnant because she hooked up with Wakka, but also they made this game on the cheap, so they didn't actually make like a pregnant version of Lulu. They just have Lulu show up and say she's pregnant, and everyone's like, okay. And they have Wakka show up and say he's fat, and everyone's like, okay. And then there are these evil guys, and they blow stuff up, and there's this guy who looks like Tidus but is evil, and then you win the video game, and there's a scene where Yuna's like desperately calling out to Tidus because they have this secret communication of whistling, and if you played the game good, you get to choose whether or not Tidus comes back. Because either Yuna has developed as a person to the point where she can stand on her own 2 feet and doesn't need the man to come be her savior, or, damn it, I want Tidus and Yuna to be together. You can just have Tidus and Yuna be together. This has been the _ Goog recaps the plot of Final Fantasy X and X-2.
What N-word?
I'm sorry, what?
I'd like to make a potentially controversial statement as regards Oren. This has been a potentially controversial statement as regards Oren.